Hi, I just got back from a walk and it was really sweaty, so I left my hair alone to do whatever it wants to do in the wind. Um, it's good to be back here. I am with the wind, so you might feel it, hear it in the mic, and yet it was important to be out in the backyard with Esme and our gigantic corn and our garden that's working its way into its own magnificence. I have a particular topic I wanted to bring up today. You know, the greatest gift that a human being can ever give another human being is the transparency of their journey. It's called intimacy. And I think intimacy has become largely diminished as a value, especially during these times. Um, and certain mental mindsets have contributed to that, mostly being judged for what we're feeling, being judged for what we think, being judged for what we look like, being judged for how we handle our lives, being judged for who others think we should be. But the most beautiful thing about the restoration of one's own transparency and one's own intimacy with that transparency, that's a transparency for, uh, we could call tell it like it is for you, is that it begins to return this amazing faculty that we are, and we never were not, and that's ourself. And what I find so amazing during this period of time, and I don't necessarily mean because of our outer circumstances. Well, I guess I do, but I'll get to that in a minute. But I don't mean so much I'm talking about the outer circumstances, but I do think, as many beings like myself do, we've seen this coming a long time. And there's something consistent with the mother, this planet Gaia. She only, she won't let things go out of balance. But we only think about that environmentally. But we carry her spirit, we carry her threads, we carry her desire for the beauty of an environment. So that's spiritual and emotional and physical and mental, this desire for environment, this desire for an environment with ourself probably should be our priority environment. You know, we're born alone with ourself before we register anyone in the world around us, in the environment around us. And we die alone, regardless of anyone in the environment around us. People might say, well, how on earth do you be intimate with, with so much going on? Well, the second thing I'd like to bring up is, why don't you start where you're standing? Why don't you just start with you? I'm noticing a lot of intestinal activity going on. And in Ayurveda, the intestines carry the seat of the soul. The soul is what connects us to all life, what we all are. It's the water we swim in. It's the music that touches us when we're together with another and when we're alone with ourselves. It's the same music. So it's very interesting. I spent 2 days and 3 days, I think, in really rough shape. I ate something I was allergic to. And before I just get really sleepy and and feel agitated and a little sick to my stomach. But this time it was as if I'd been poisoned. But in a way I had, because I'd introduced something into my system that's becoming highly refined now in my body that just isn't going to take it. It wants to get rid of that which doesn't give it life exorbitantly fast. But in the culture of the day, we would call that some outside action, some outside source had made us sick. Not that the body is tending to itself, so it can be a house for its spirit and a home for the soul of human being. So why I do Sacred Space for Resting Courage is because I think there's value in transparency. I think there's value in a lived life being shared. That's very different than an opinion being shared. A lived life lives in stories and experiences, and in those stories and experiences we have observations, and we share what we observe. For you, it may be of value to have an outside enemy that is torturing you and harming your body, whether it's a virus or whether it's a human being, or whether it's something you think you did to yourself. It's just not the same operational state as when you're in a reality of unity, when your consciousness and your perception and your vital organs do everything they can to restore your ability to exist where unity is real. There's a term, cohesion. Just going to introduce it a bit to the call. It's been a strange 6 weeks to 2 months for me. I've been through several stages of perception. I'm smart enough to know that when I'm in a state of perception that's agitating me and agitating my system, it's probably not the right perception, even if I don't know how to get out of it. Right now, I think the human body has more power over the future than our personal assessment of what we think is going on. Because our body is the closest related to the mother. It's the most closely related to the mother. And if she's in the process of shifting her embodiment, I would imagine that we're in the process of shifting our embodiment also. So while I'm saying all this, at the very same time, I find it important to only make one topic something I'm giving to you. It's my gift to you. It's what I think is essential right now. And it kind of comes with a game. It's so we don't know the outcome of the game. We don't know even perhaps there's no purpose to the game. But it feels like a game. And the game goes like this. How many questions can you ask yourself in a day and not be interested in the answer? How many questions can you ask for a day and you're not interested in the answers? That's my first question. How many questions can we live for a day and not be interested in the answer? How do we embody our soul? the soul. Just to distinguish how I use the terms, the spirit is the spirit in flesh. It's what has us feel inspirited. It's our chi, our prana. It comes from our etheric nature, from our energy fields, from our vibration, from our resonance, from our frequencies. We tune in. When we begin to embody our etheric nature, when we begin to become inspirited, in my point of view, when the flesh begins to restore itself as the home, as its inspirited nature, there's a sense of embodiment, that the sense of identification, the sense of perception, the sense of comprehension of I am that, and where I am, that is, becomes more dominant. And you can't, there's just no way that as you are embodying, you don't feel more of the whole, as being part of the whole, and the whole being part of you. It's a natural event. It can't be comprehended. It can't be assessed, can't be broken down into parts. So are we in the process of embodiment? Is our flesh going to the areas of the body, physical flesh, that maintain the human soul? The human soul being a one species spirit, with little individuations of that spirit everywhere. What is the interest in the human spirit right now? Or the question could be, what is your interest? What if there was a path opening up, that our sensory system, our broader spectrum intelligence, our dimensional capacity, even our intellectual framework was beginning to resort itself into? Will our corn grow corn? Do you notice after you feel emotionally or physically or mentally collapsed? Do you notice when you come out the other side, do you feel broader, deeper, wider? BDW. I don't mind asking these questions because they're part of what I'm observing. About a few weeks ago, I began to hear a cracks, I guess you'd say, but they were more like when concrete cracks and the pavement breaks open. But it felt above, out there, where the etherics and where energy and matter come together. It was more like some aberration, something that got aberrated and built, distorted, was cracking. it was more like there were powers and forces that could finally, through the phenomenon of so many human beings remembering, it was more that there was this like bolt of lightning when you, in the ancient days, when you'd hear the voice of the Lord cry out upon the land, but it would make something break, it would make something collapse and fall apart. And it had the mystical experience of that while we knew this time is coming, many of us, of the world as we knew it would collapse. And perhaps it had to do with the orientation of human beings, more and more human beings building their right relationship with creation to the best of their ability in the toxic environments they had available to them, that unity point of the generating, organizing designs of creation and human beings came together and collapse, a deeper collapse, a deeper crash, more broke apart so that it could reformulate itself into an inseparability from that from which it was created. Will the missing piece of the puzzle become restored in the human consciousness? Will the direct relationship with creation happen in a tipping point manner for many human beings? Will humanity give up its need for survival, embrace its joy of being? And how many will? I'll repeat that one, because this is the one I'm in. I actually can't believe it, because it's more like it's in that crack where I'm experiencing something cracking loose from me. It doesn't seem like I have any say over it, which is the Tao, or the way. In the technology of the field of Tantra Mat, in the creation exercises, the more you restore your direct link with creation, more the identity that thinks it's in charge, that thinks it can change things, that thinks it can fix things, that thinks it knows what it needs, begins to be replaced by the movement of the water molecule in the ocean. We are truly moving back into the Tao, back into the way of unity with all life and what has us exist as whole. And to some extent, I think it's begun. There's nothing to teach anymore, I know that. So then my question would be, why would I come onto safe and sacred if there's nothing to teach? I'll read you a quote by Alan Watts in his book about the Tao. It says, "The way an ecologist describes human behavior is as an action. What you do is what the whole universe is doing at the place you call here and now. That means you're the universe. And where you are, the universe is remembering itself here and now." The original work, the beginning of the original work of the creation templates and the building field phenomenon that I began many, 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 many years ago. Now I'm now the work I did with others and others did with me, we are definitely part of having generated a coherent field that now will blend into all the other coherency of creation. And less we'll have to do. Less and less will we have to be concerned with the I that has to remain functional to survive. Less and less. So I'll read the second part. I'll read it again and then read the second part. The way an ecologist describes human behavior is as an action. What you do is what the whole universe is doing at the place you call here and now. So everything you're doing is creation. The only question is, does it give you vitality? Does it restore your system? Does it give you back a sense of self? Does it rebuild? Because we're all incredibly weak right now physically. We're incredibly weak emotionally. That's not a bad thing. Because the more fragile, the more tender, the more weak a person feels emotionally, the more the deeper nature, the BDW of ourself can rise, because that beautiful, fragile innocence is the core of what we are. We are always meant, and still are, taken care of by creation. It's just that this aberration as us get in the way, has had us get in the way of that. Our identity structure is like a diversion. It's like a distortion. It's like an aberration. So it's really great to fall apart and to have no say and only to tend to yourself in life-giving and life-enhancing ways and just see how it goes. You are something the whole universe is doing in the same way that a wave is something that the whole ocean is doing. You know, this is almost hearable. And I don't think even 3 weeks ago this could have been hearable at any level. And it has to do, I was talking to my Shifu and her partner about cognition. That's why I've always loved the creation templates and the creation exercises, because they gave me broad-banded, deeper, wider spectrum of comprehension. And it's just a whole lot easier to see what to do when you're broad-banded than it is to know what to do when you're broad-banded, and to probably see, hear, and know what to do when you're broad-banded than when you're narrow-minded. Narrow-minded doesn't mean prejudiced. Narrow-minded means you don't have enough mind to think with. You don't have a broad enough spectrum of mind to think with. You're the wave that doesn't know you're doing what the whole ocean is doing. We need to experience ourselves in such a way that we could say that our real body is not just what's inside the skin, but our whole external environment. And that's what I really feel is going on now. We are in the empathic response of the entire environment of the physical reality right now. And I promise you, as hard as it is to hear me, and I don't even know if anybody's listening, but I didn't come on today for human beings to hear me. I really came into today, into this time, so that I could be with creation. I could be in that meta point of where creation and human, represented by me, exist together and are taking time to do that. Taking time to reflect. Taking time to ask questions that require no answer and require no answer. Because there are ways of the way. There are activities of consciousness that mature the flow of one's own being back into the nature of itself. There is that. So you just sort of start anywhere. You just sort of be anywhere. It's good enough. You take a day not to solve anything. So the question, what would it be like to take a day to not only not solve anything, but to not let my mind try to solve it? Oh my, oh my. What a day that could be. The example I wanted to use today was we talked about the through line. And for those that didn't hear me discuss this, whenever I did, wherever I did, the through line is when you're riding the rapids. And the rapids are 6 categories. There's a 7th category, but you'll basically be dead. It's a tsunami territory. But the interesting thing about the through line is you don't look too far into the future. You just get through the day, or you get through the moment. So introducing the concept of a through line isn't a bad introduction in these times, because there's so much we can't do anything about, because creation is sorting itself out at its next level and using everything to do that. The actions of human beings, the non-actions of human beings, the environmental conditions of our world. But you think creation is inanimate. It's not intelligent. It's not a conscious nature, but we are creation. So that's kind of stupid, don't you think? And then there's the mother, this planet, the feminine, always birthing, always dying, always living, always. There's no interruption to that. So in the through line, it's like being in the rapids. You're on the boat, you're taking the journey. Depending on the size or difficulty of the rapid, you have a certain need to be skillful. And what the skill is to figure out, to watch patterns. Kevin delivered a very large stick he likes to play with, and now I'm stepping on it. But to watch patterns. I'm listening to the Tao by Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. The author, the Audible author, his name starts with Stephen, someone, I can't remember the last, but I like him because he uses the pronoun he and she. And in Chinese, there is, in the Oriental languages, there is no pronoun he or she. It's, there just isn't. So, but if it was written by a man, the word translated was he. If it's written by a woman, the word translated was she. You can see what kind of mess that caused. But there's something in there about the through line. It doesn't use the word, but it talks about watching patterns. I ordered the book, so when I'm in Grass Valley, California, where I'll be for a couple of weeks, Nevada City, Grass Valley, Auburn, I will find a way to bring that into the field. So what I had to give up in my rapids, I've always gathered people to me, and I've always been there on their behalf, and always included myself as one of them. I am my best client. I am my strongest ally. I am the one that cares the most about me. And in that, one of the things that cares for me is caring for others, caring about others, caring about others as they make their journey of resiliency into the strength, stamina, capacity of their self that is in unity with all life and in the way of the way, which is the through line. So you watch patterns and you see you can't manage it mentally. You just notice patterns that you're either giving up, or you watch patterns that if you just keep noticing them and giving them a place that you like, patterns that you like, they start to build on their own. You don't have to figure out how to do anything. It's all what you pay attention to. Doesn't go any further than that. It's not how you apply it. Whatever you pay attention to will find a place in your realm, in your being. But mine was a kind of a save the people phenomenon. The whole last 45 years of my life have been based on knowing what was going to happen during these times and wanting people to have the resiliency and capability and consciousness for it, not to solve the problem, but to ride the through line to the other side, where the water is beautiful and magical and calm. It already exists. You know, the river already exists, the ocean already exists, the swimming pools already exist, the slow-moving river already exists. It just depends on where we are in our boat. It's kind of stupid, you think. Don't you think it's kind of stupid? That's a question. To think that the rapids we're in is the only thing that exists. And yet, they better be the only thing that exists in the moment. Because you won't get through to the other side if you don't tend to them. However, the conversation about through line, if I had someone that was my support person, they'd go look up or in my community maybe, they'd go look up the one that talked about the through line and post it for people on the group, Safe and Sacred, so that people would have available to them, which is actually part of the deal. Part of the deal is when we begin to use our time to keep what we love informed, not trying to tell them what to do or how to fix things. There's a lot of how do we fix things? Well, we can't fix things right now. Things are breaking. Things are falling apart. We're breaking. We're falling apart. We're also breaking so we can be rebuilt. We're also falling apart so we can have new patterns that restore us into a whole new experience of existence. We just are. You can't vote your way out of it or into it. But I noticed when I talked about, did this talk on Through Line, wherever that was, it might have been on one of my iMagi calls. What we didn't talk about is what it's like to be in the flow of the current after you get through the rapids, when you have to paddle like crazy and stick your oar in and hold it so it can make its way around a rock and lift up the oars as you have to ride over, and then know when to put them back down and know when to pull back and know when to push forward to make it to stay in the through line. But then when you hit the current of the river, you just put your paddle across your legs and you let the current take you downriver. Well, while I think we have to definitely find the through lines in the rapids, I think the most important part is we have to ride the currents and go downriver. I think we have to trust the currents will take us downriver to a whole new place. The Lao Tzu has a body of work, also has a beautiful poem about paradise. I'll try to find it too. Only if I do. I'm creating a whole world today, and this time I have on Facebook Live with humanity, and whether they're present or not, I can talk to them without them even being here. I don't require presence. I forgot about that. That's my new through line. I forgot I don't require human presence to feed the etheric nature of the human consciousness. I live there. That's why people come to me, because that's where I live. I live in the mind of creation. I live in the etheric territories from which all manifestation rises. I'd just forgotten. So this is kind of part of my exercise, my practicing a new pattern of doing what I love to do when I want to do it, when I feel, not when I want to, like, gimme, 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 but when I feel the call to speak the language of creation, when I feel the call to, because that's my medium, like a singer that needs to sing. When I feel the call to language something that I'm present to, because as I language it, I'm in its presence. I'm in its vitality. I'm in its magic. And my cognitive mind begins to reset itself into the more magical, sensorily yummy relatedness of what it's like when the current of the river has caught you and it's moving you downriver. But we try to backpedal because we're so terrified by all the programming and all the distorted thinking and all the distorted perception. We think we're going to hell. Weren't we told that? That we were sinners and we were going to hell? Could be. I don't really like that pattern. And I have a lot to say over what I like. And if this is all the path to hell, then I think I'll just practice a little heaven on the way. And one of the great places to practice heaven is with your paddle across your oar across your legs, enjoying the view as the current's taking you downriver. You know, you may hit that number 7 rapid soon enough, and you may have no say whatsoever, because it's more powerful than you'll ever be. And you're in its hands and in its fates. But in the meantime, be fun to follow new currents, see where they take us. So that's what I wanted to introduce today. I wanted to reintroduce through line, because words can matter. You know, one time, I did 25 years of assisting in a particular discipline. And it all started with, I had been, how old would I have been? Oh my goodness, 74. So I would have been, I was born in 46. Somebody can do the math. I think I would have been 24. And I heard this, I'm bad at math, by the way. My boyfriend played the cello at the Playboy Club in Boston. So I had gone to listen to him play, and all this rigmarole was going on across the street. Hundreds of people going to this auditorium, to this event, and the people standing outside the door looked like zombies. Please go this way. Please take your seat. I thought, that is bizarre. And I was also drinking, which I don't drink anymore hardly at all, except every now and then, when the need arises for my deep shamanic nature to rise to the surface and talk to me aggressively. But I used to drink, Irish coffee. So I think I'd had about 7 Irish coffees. And so I basically stumbled over to this attractive zombie engagement and sat down about 3 rows back in the middle. And I remember the guy, but I kept falling asleep. But I remembered one thing he said, and I wrote it in my diary. A fish doesn't know the water it's swimming in until it's missing. And then about 6 months later, I read in my diary this. I wondered who that strange man was who said that strange thing that I'd written down. And then within about 3 days, there was an article in Cosmopolitan about transforming your life in 2 days. And it turned out to be this man. It turned out to be that training. And what I got from the training, as I got all those 25 years, is I learned how to pay attention to how to get access to something. But all the time I knew you getting access to something and understanding something are entirely different. You want to get access to what you can't understand. You want to get access to what's innate. You want to get access to your original design. You want to get access to it because you'll never understand it. Do you understand you? You may have yourself assessed, but that assessment, doesn't it come from the terms of the society you're living in or what you've heard? So that's why language is my medium, because I can observe and I can pay attention, I can watch things, and I can talk them in a way, not to teach, but to be in the presence of what I'm present to. Whether it serves people or not, I've got to get my ass out of that sling. Whether people want paradise or not, I got to quit caring. I don't mean I don't care, but it's causing me to drift into the rocks and not pay attention to my own through line. Because I do think we need to pay attention to our own through line. Right now, we can party when we get to the flow of the river that's calm. But we have to also register in our bodies the difference between having to be stressed out, having to be acutely aware, having to be adrenaline driven, and when to relax and let the current carry us. I think that's the biggest thing we have to individually get access to. So the last thing I'm going to put in the field today, the field of sacred space for rest and courage. It's a personal share. I've had this dream about a world. In this world, everybody knew what was theirs to do and when it was theirs to do it. And the rest of the time, they just beed, alive. But we've been so busy getting to this point, we may not have thought that. We may have thought that the outer world is doing it to us, but truthfully, there's not a person that wasn't born for these times, isn't a water molecule. You know, we can make an undertow as wrong as we want to, but an undertow is part of the ocean. It's part of its natural process. A whirlpool, we can make it wrong, but it's still the natural process. You know, the ice can crack beneath our feet and plunge us into the icy waters below, but it's just a natural process. We can love the gentle blowing wind, how it feels on our body. It's just a natural process. My whole interest has been to get back to that the human system can be restored to its natural function, because everything's been against it for a long time. Everything's been against its natural function for a long time. Kevin, sorry, he's tending to people outside the street. Just want to see him. I'll be right back. Kevin? Oh, there you are. Okay. I didn't realize you'd gone inside. Don't come through that screen. He has this uncanny ability to jump high. I don't know when he'll be able to make it over our 7-foot concrete wall, 6-foot concrete wall. But you can dream, and then if you just knew that you're not building the dream, you're looking for the dream, you're looking how to get access to it. And one of the ways to get access to it is to restore our systems, because they're what register where we are. Do you really think you are where you are? Only how you register where you are has you be where you are. Two people can be sitting in the same bus stop, and one can watch the world, think the world's going to hell by what it sees, he or she sees, and the other one can think we've gone to heaven out of what he or she sees. Perception is the name of the game. And it all depends on where your now, here and now is, and your ability to get access to the original nature, the original design here, which is paradise. So in my dream, which I've structured over and over again for people to get access to themselves, not to any new principle, any new thing to dominate them. Like I've been able to talk about the Tao for years because its language is speaking to me now, but it didn't speak to me 10 years ago, and yet I was pretty much operating in the Tao 10 years ago, but I didn't need the cognition of it. I didn't need to cognitively be relating to it until now. But something happened recently, this thing we're building called Create a World. And I knew it was the first time, imagine, in all these years, except for clients, where I can support what their dreams are and they can see what is theirs to do. But in regard to myself, someone actually saw what was theirs to do and saw my part in it. Somebody began, I recognized that in this person they had the matrix of Create a World, that Create a World had assigned them that place, and they had recognized themselves in that creation. The other part I can't really language because human beings don't really have a good cognitive awareness of what it's like to live in the ethers of existence, to not be bound by one's own psychology, to not be traumatized by one's own trauma, to always be navigating the through line to the next greater whole. It's just impossible to explain what that's like unless you're there. But the really beautiful thing in the conversation she had with me was she knew the part I played. And she wanted me free to play it. And this is part of it. To build the connection between so above, so below. To build the connection between the mother and the cosmos, which is creation. To build back the etheric territories within which the spirit can revitalize. All this I can do without human beings, because I am a human being. And so where I am, the ocean is. What I'm doing, the universe is doing. It's just that simple. So in that moment of that conversation and the persistent listening from the unity point of ourselves, others, and life that I've been provided by more than one person recently, that I've gotten to listen, I've gotten to hear. It's where human beings are starting to experience themselves as cohesion, where everything's part of everything else. Everything operates on behalf of everything else, and yet everything has a place. It's been magical for me. Just magical. My passcode, part of it, since I'm not going to tell you the whole thing, for my personal stuff, has a Freed, F-R-E-E-D, 2, number 2, B, capital B, sometimes 2 exclamation point, sometimes none. And there's more to it than that, but that's how it started. That's part of it. And that's my current. The current I'm in sometimes with less and less bone-breaking rapids, brain-breaking rapids, is freed to be. How about you? What's your passcode? So we're building something because we want to build it, because we think it's part of paradise and that it's how human beings once related. And we just want a place to build that structure just in case somebody might want to populate it. And it may be before its time. It may be too many humans are still scurrying for the covers. Too many humans are still looking for an authority to help them out of the mess instead of being in the beauty. Sorry, that's now the Kevin chasing a lizard under my leg. Kevin, can you leave the lizard alone? I'll just hold this. I'm almost done anyway. Wish I could turn my... Oh, it's a bumblebee. Are you trying to get the bumblebee? He's going to... see, he doesn't like you. He's going to sting you. He's busy meditating with a bumblebee. A big black bumblebee. The odds are bad on his behalf that his nose will remain without a sting. But he's going to find that thing. So it's good. It's good to talk it out. Oh, also in the Tao Te Ching, there's a statement called "Why." It was beautiful. I actually will. I really hope I find that one. And for those of you, if you are listening, if you have the book and you can find it, I'd love you to post it on Sacred Space for Rest and Courage. I'm coming back to populate this territory a lot in the next few weeks because we need a sacred space for rest and courage. And I like having that etheric territory cuddled into Facebook. But it talks about why do the masters blabber when in the Tao, he who knows or she who knows says nothing, and she or he who does not know says everything. And the way it talks about it, I'm probably going to mess it up, is it's because the master can see the moon and knows that he or she must point their finger at that moon, even though they know that most of the people will only see the pointed finger. So I'm being a blabbermouth today. We must have somebody else on our internet because I'm having performance issues. So I'll go. Thank you for your time with me. Even if you aren't here, and even if you don't know, you're listening.